All right, deep divers, buckle up, because today we are diving headfirst into time travel.
Oh, yeah.
You know, after last week's episode about that supposed time traveler from 2062, the internet's been buzzing.
For sure.
So we thought, why not tackle the big question?
Yeah.
Is time travel even possible?
Well, what I find fascinating is that time travel sits right at that intersection, you know, of science fiction and theoretical physics.
Yeah.
It's captivated humanity for centuries. And even today, it feels utterly impossible, but strangely plausible.
Exactly. And who better to untangle this temporal knot than our favorite dynamic duo from Sip&Talk, Joe and Sunny.
Hey, everyone. Ready to believe in all things timey-wimey.
Oh, Joe, always the optimist. Sunny here, and as usual, I am bringing a healthy dose of skepticism to the table.
That's what we love about it. So let's rewind a bit and revisit this whole Future Man from 2062 saga. For those who missed it, this guy popped up on some Japanese forums back in 2010, claimed to be a time traveler. He even supposedly predicted the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami.
I remember that.
Telling people to go to the mountains.
Creepy, right? I mean, if that's not a sign of a genuine time traveler, I don't know what is. Think about it. He could have saved so many lives if people had listened.
Hold on a second, Joe. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. That prediction was incredibly vague, telling people to go to the mountains. In a country known for its mountainous terrain, it isn't exactly a Nostradamus-level prophecy.
Okay, fair enough. But here's where it gets really intriguing. This future man also supposedly predicted the 2016 Kumamoto earthquakes. And this time, he got more specific. He gave a date and even a location. Come on, Sunny, even you have to admit, that's a little spooky.
I'll grant you the second prediction is more specific, but let's remember that Japan sits on the Ring of Fire, a highly seismically active zone. Predicting an earthquake in Japan, even with some accuracy, is like predicting rain in a rainforest. It's not exactly a miracle.
Okay, Sunny, I see your point.
All right, we've got prophecies of war, vanishing countries, and a whole lot of speculation. Before we get too lost in the time-traveling weeds, let's take a step back and ask ourselves, why are we so captivated by this idea of time travel in the first place?
I think it's the ultimate what-if scenario. The chance to right past wrongs, to get a sneak peek at the future, to experience different eras firsthand. It's just too tempting to resist. I mean, who wouldn't want to visit ancient Rome or see what the world looks like in the 20th century?
I think it also speaks to our desire for control. We live in a world where so much feels uncertain and unpredictable. The idea that we could somehow manipulate time to control our past or our future is incredibly appealing.
Time travel taps into our deepest desires and fears. It's the ultimate fantasy of rewriting our story or knowing what's coming next. But is it even remotely possible?
Well, that's what we're here to find out. And you know me, I'm always up for a good dose of the impossible.
And as always, I'm here to remind you that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
Let's dive in and see what we can uncover. We've got a stack of articles, research papers, and even some first-hand accounts from people who claim to have had time travel experiences. We're going to sift through the science, the speculation, and the sheer craziness to see if we can find any nuggets of truth.
All right, Joe, let's indulge your time-traveling fantasies for a bit. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that time travel is possible. What kind of crazy scenarios could we expect?
Oh man, where do I even begin? Imagine popping back to the Renaissance and hanging out with Leonardo da Vinci. Or maybe sneaking into a Beatles concert in the 60s. I'd even settle for going back to last week and grabbing that winning lottery ticket I missed.
I just want to give another shout out to Micky from Mickytolife. His channel is a treasure trove of inspiration, and he's a huge Sip&Talk fan.
Absolutely. Make sure to check him out and maybe even share your awesome podcast intro with him once you've created it.
But even if we set aside the selfish motives, the implications of time travel are mind-boggling. Think about the historical events you could witness firsthand. The signing of the Declaration of Independence, the building of the pyramids, the first humans walking on the moon.
And what about the future? Imagine seeing what technological marvels await us. Flying cars, teleportation devices, maybe even contact with alien civilizations.
Okay, now you're just getting carried away. But you do raise an interesting point. If time travel were possible, wouldn't we expect to see more evidence of it? I mean, wouldn't future historians be flocking to our time to study major events? Wouldn't we have tourists from the future snapping selfies with their time-traveling smartphones?
Maybe they're being super sneaky about it. Like, what if they have some kind of cloaking technology that makes them invisible to us? Or maybe there's a strict prime directive type of rule that prevents them from interfering with the past.
You're starting to sound like a conspiracy theorist. But I do think you've hit on a key point. If time travel were possible, And especially if it were commonplace in the future, wouldn't there be some kind of protocol to prevent paradoxes and chaos?
That's a great point. Our sources actually touch on this concept of time travel ethics. Some physicists have proposed the idea of a chronology protection conjecture, which suggests that the laws of physics themselves might prevent actions that would create paradoxes.
So no going back in time and accidentally killing your grandfather, leading to your own non-existence.
Exactly. Or maybe it's not that it's physically impossible, but rather highly regulated. Imagine a time travel agency with strict rules and regulations, making sure no one messes with the timeline too much. You could probably only visit certain approved historical events, and any interaction with the past would be carefully monitored.
That's an interesting thought. It kind of makes you wonder if time travel would even be fun with all those restrictions. Imagine going back to ancient Rome and only being allowed to watch from a designated viewing platform, like some kind of temporal zoo.
Well, that wouldn't be ideal, but hey, I'd still take it. It's better than nothing, right? Plus, imagine the educational opportunities.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Being able to study history firsthand would be incredible. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the science. We've been speculating about all these possibilities. But what does physics actually say about the feasibility of time travel?
That's where things get really interesting and a bit mind-bending. According to Einstein's theory of special relativity, time is relative to the observer's frame of reference. In other words, time can actually slow down or speed up depending on how fast you're moving.
Wait, you're saying time isn't constant? Like, time can actually be different for different people?
Exactly. It's called time dilation, and it's a real observable phenomenon. For example, astronauts on the International Space Station actually age slightly slower than people on Earth because they're moving at a much faster speed.
Wow, so those astronauts are technically time travelers.
In a way, yes. It's just not the kind of dramatic time leaping we usually imagine. But time dilation is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the weirdness of time.
Let's not forget about wormholes, those theoretical tunnels through space-time that could potentially connect distant points in the universe, and maybe even different points in time.
Ah, yes, wormholes. Those are my favorite. Imagine hopping through a wormhole and ending up in a completely different galaxy, or even a different time period. It'd be like taking a cosmic shortcut.
Wormholes are one of the most tantalizing possibilities when it comes to time travel. But even if they exist, harnessing their power for temporal journeys is another story altogether.
Exactly. Wormholes are theoretical constructs based on Einstein's general relativity, but we've never actually observed one. And even if we did, there's no guarantee that we could control where or when they would lead. They could be unstable, unpredictable, and potentially very dangerous.
Okay, so wormholes are a bit of a long shot. What about other ways to manipulate time? I've heard about something called cosmic strings, which are like these incredibly dense, energetic lines that could warp space-time.
Cosmic strings are another theoretical concept, Joe. They're thought to be remnants of the early universe. And some physicists believe they could potentially warp space-time enough to create something called closed time-like curves.
Closed time-like curves. Sounds ominous. What are those exactly?
Well, to put it simply, a closed time-like curve is a path through space-time that loops back on itself, creating a loop in time. If you were to follow such a curve, you would essentially end up back where and when you started.
So basically a time loop, like in that movie Groundhog Day.
Exactly. Except in this case, the loop could potentially span centuries or even millennia.
Wow. We've gone from time dilation to wormholes to cosmic strings and time loops. It seems like the possibilities for manipulating time are endless. But the big question remains, can we actually build a time machine and make these theoretical concepts a reality? So deep divers, we've journeyed through time dilation wormholes and even cosmic strings. It's clear that the concept of time travel, while still firmly in the realm of speculation, it has captured the imaginations of physicists and sci-fi enthusiasts alike.
It really has.
But let's face it, the idea of building a time machine, a device that can transport us through the annals of history or catapult us into the distant future, it still feels like something straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster.
I know, right? It's a bit disheartening to think that all these mind-blowing possibilities might forever remain beyond our grasp. But hey, a guy can still dream, right? Imagine the possibilities if we could crack the code of time travel.
But I have to admit, even my skeptical mind can't help but wonder what it would be like to experience time travel firsthand. To witness pivotal moments in history, to see how the world evolves over centuries. It's a truly tantalizing thought.
Absolutely, and that's what makes this topic so endlessly fascinating. It forces us to confront the very nature of time, to question our understanding of reality, and to ponder the implications of actions that could ripple through the tapestry of history.
Speaking of implications, one thing that's always bugged me about time travel is the whole paradox problem. You know, like going back in time and accidentally preventing your own birth.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that create some kind of cosmic glitch?
That's the classic grandfather paradox, Joe. And it's one of the biggest headaches for anyone trying to make sense of time travel. Some physicists believe that paradoxes are simply impossible, that the universe has some kind of built-in mechanism to prevent them.
That's where the idea of the chronology protection conjecture comes in, right? The idea that the laws of physics themselves might conspire to safeguard the integrity of the timeline.
Exactly. It's like the universe has a cosmic rule book that says, no messing with the past or else.
But what if, instead of preventing paradoxes, time travel actually creates alternate timelines? Like you go back in time and change something, but instead of erasing your own existence, you create a new branch of reality where things play out differently.
That's the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, Joe. It's a pretty mind-bending concept, but it's one that some physicists take seriously. It suggests that every time a decision is made, every time a quantum event occurs, the universe splits into multiple versions, each reflecting a different outcome.
So in essence, every possible choice, every possible event is playing out somewhere in the vast multiverse.
Exactly. It's a bit overwhelming to think about, but it does offer a way to resolve the paradox problem. If every choice creates a new timeline, then there's no danger of erasing your own existence by altering the past. You're simply shifting to a different branch of reality.
Wow, that's heavy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So are you saying there could be countless versions of ourselves out there living out different lives in different universes?
It's a possibility, Joe. And who knows, maybe one day we'll develop the technology to not only travel through time, but also to hop between these alternate realities.
That's a thought-provoking idea, Sunny. It seems like with every step we take towards understanding time travel, we uncover even more mysteries and possibilities.
So where does this leave us, deep divers? Are we any closer to building a time machine and setting off on our own temporal adventures?
Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but based on our current understanding of physics, practical time travel still seems a long way off. The challenges are immense, and the theoretical frameworks are complex and often contradictory.
But that doesn't mean we should stop exploring, right? The pursuit of knowledge, the quest to push the boundaries of what we think is possible, that's what drives scientific progress. And who knows, maybe one day time travel will move from the realm of science fiction to scientific reality.
I'm holding on to that hope. In the meantime, I'll just have to keep dreaming of those time-traveling escapades. Maybe I'll even start working on my time machine blueprints, just in case.
Oh, while you're doing that, I think I'll stick to exploring the wonders of the present. After all, there's plenty to discover right here and now, without the risk of accidentally erasing myself from existence.
That's a great point, Sunny. And on that note, we've reached the end of our time-bending journey. We've explored the possibilities, pondered the paradoxes, and delved into the science behind this eternally captivating topic.
It's been a blast as always. Thanks for joining us on this temporal adventure, deep divers. Keep those minds curious, and who knows, maybe one of you will be the one to crack the code of time travel.
And remember, even if we never master the art of time travel, we're all traveling through time right now at the steady pace of 1 second per second. So make the most of this present moment, because it's the only one we've got, for sure.
And with that, we'll sign off from Sip and Talk. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those imaginations running wild.